Big mouth.
You didn't want me to know
that you were never at the throne.
you're the offspring of wickedness.
You're giant freaks of lawlessness,
You're tormented, earthbound.
with all your fathers chained down.
Your mother's true colors show.
By giving birth, the people know.
I know who you are.
I know who you are.
It's taken me thus far.
I know who you are.
Big bad Nephilim man.
Lie, deceit, and burden man.
Big bad Nephilim man.
Big bad Nephilim man.
Like brewing potions, taking herbs.
The women's wombs became disturbed,
Then the evil spirits planted seeds.
Oh, CEO. Hello, everybody. I'm hoping I ain't gonna be here tonight very long. Just wanted to talk and discuss a few things anyway. And hey, by the way, I'm old, okay? I mean, let's just face it. My body just ain't like what it used to be, So it's like I'm having to sit in this camping chair. I have to get cushions for my other chair. Meantime, I'm having to be parked in this camping chair, and it's very uncomfortable after a while. And so I'm kind of hoping I can limit on how long I am here tonight. Yeah, so please bear with me on that, because, hey, I have some things I want to talk about. Now, the good question here I want to start off with, hey, OCO, hey there, bro. How's it going there, Standing Bear? How's it going? Yeah, I wanted to get on here tonight, bro, and talk about a few things and stuff and get a chance to catch up on things here, and not to mention that oh, excuse me, this chair is very uncomfortable. Very. I hear you, bro. I know what you mean about the going. I know what you mean about the going. And that's about the way it is with me, but sometimes I don't know if I'm really going or coming and going, you know, at least with my body anyway. I mean, heck, it's, you never know one day from the next when you're going to be feeling somewhat okay, and then maybe really good, and then the other day feel so bad, you can't even stand the thought about even trying to get up out of the bed. Yeah, I tell you what. Oh, yeah, I did one recording. I think, of course, you know yourself. I don't ever claim to be a singer. I just love to sing. One fella was being a little rude, but I can't blame him really. This one fella, he had this on his channel. He had uh, a CGI video. The graphics was cool. It was supposed to have been about time travel with a soldier, right? And the graphics was great. The guy, and I even commented that, but I just, maybe I should have reworded my wording. I sat there and said, uh, that it stunk or something like that, as far as the storyline, cause it was like going, like you go into the movies and you pay your ticket, right, to see the movie. And so you go in, you paid your ticket, you go in, sit down, and the movie is either right in the middle or close to the end of the movie. You don't know nothing about what's happening, what took place, or what. Well, that was the way it was with the guy's video, and I was commenting on that as such. And well, I guess he decided he was going to check me out, and then he saw that video I just uploaded. It was a cool change, and I mean, he's just saying there talking about how horrible it was, the my song was, and that I had the audacity, more or less, on criticizing his work. But I just told him, said, well, each to their own, And I says, but by the way, I did say you had good graphics, and he did. But I says, but each person has to be able to learn to take open criticism. It is through that we learn and we strive to do better. And I said, people, I'm open to criticism, whether I like it or not, because that will help me do better in the long run. you know. But you get some people that you can't please them no matter what, so you just gotta let it slide. And all, but I look at it this way: when somebody sits here or is being mean uh, on on commentary in the comment section, I look at it like this: that person, whoever they may be, exposes themselves for, what is it they call it? Being a Karen these days. I don't know what the male version is. I know when the females are acting up or whatever, they say Karen, a Karen. I don't I don't know what it would be with a guy. What would you call that? Me, I just say a jerk. But whatever. It's just that they tell on themselves here, bro. That's all it does is where they just tell on their own selves, and that's the way it is. But do I hate him? Nah. I don't have no ill towards the feller. He was just striking back because he couldn't handle an open criticism, and I wasn't intending to be mean. Maybe, but I should have worded things a little better, so maybe I'll watch that in the future. When I'm given a criticism, I didn't mean to be a sound mean to the fella. So uh I wish the guy all the more luck, the good fortune to him. But anyway, I'm hoping that people will comment, tonight, if they, because I know there's a lot of live streaming and stuff going on other people's channels. But when they get a chance to comment, and one of the first questions I would like to ask before I show some videos is, how many believe in the Nephilim, and how many knows what the Nephilim are? And just give me 1 second. Hold on here. Okay. Uh, a lot of people. I'm surprised on the here on YouTube and other platforms on how many hear the word Nephilim, and they don't even fully know what it is. What is a Nephilim? Well, it's kind of like this. if a person doesn't believe in the book of heaven, the Bible, and they don't believe in God, well, I would suggest to just skip off of this channel, go somewhere else, because see, to understand about Nephilim and and to understand their existence is to understand and believe in the Bible, the book of heaven, where it speaks of the Nephilim. Excuse me, pardon me. And the Nephilim, a lot of people don't understand, is basically it's just outright the product of fallen angels that had, it mentions about it in the book of Genesis. You know, they, the, see, a lot of people don't understand when it talks about in Genesis about the sons of God, that, uh, that married women and had sexual relations with them and all that, or experimented with them. Anyway, the women gave birth to big babies that were half angel and half human. See now, you'll get a lot of people that will say, "Well, angels it can't have sex with women. They just can't." No, no, no. Well, what they fail to understand, that's a false and true statement all at the same time. Uh, it's true that angels that are obedient and devoted to the beautiful great one, that is the creator, uh, they will not, and it's more like that. It's not that they cannot per se, as it is they will not have any, offspring with, having relations with women. But fallen ones, they didn't care, and they still don't. These beings, these fallen angels, these beings have been around forever before we even existed. And yeah, they had offspring, and then God, they was doing all kinds of weird things with even animals as well as with humans. And next thing you know, well, that's why God sent the flood. It was really bad, a lot of wickedness and all this. So God sent the flood, wipe them out. Not they, of course, He didn't wipe out the fallen angels because they can't die. They're not mortal; they're immortal. All right, but after the flood, well, guess what? They began to start doing the same stuff over again. And see, the thing is, when it comes for the future of mankind, all right, what will happen instead of a big flood of water, it'll be uh, flooded with, or how do you say? Yeah, my wording here, flooded with fire. uh, but I'll tell you one thing though, is that these beings have existed and they still do. The fallen angels. All right, and they're still experimenting. They're even experiment yet to this day. That's where you get these aliens. So in a way, these aliens like the Greys or the what do they call them, reptilians and such. They are well, they're like how would you say, Nephilim, except they're not giants. But there are still some giants in, the offspring of them. But that's where you get all these abductions and all this. Now, I don't expect everybody to agree with me. It's just sharing thoughts and what one knows or what one understands or whatever, right? Everyone's got their own opinion and thoughts. And so, anyway, but before I get into all this, I would like to say real quick, if anyone likes this stream here, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Oh yeah. But anyway, and also I wanted to put as a little reminder. Remember this. All right, in Matthew chapter 6, verse 46, where Jesus sits there and says, "So why do you call me Lord, and yet you do not do the things that I say?" And that's something to think about. Just something I threw in there for everyone to think about. And that everyone includes me and everyone else. Why do we call him Lord and yet do not do what he says? That's a question to think about. Okay. All right, let's go in this first video and let's take a listen and see what's up here. I want to, kind of pause every now and then and comment, leave for anyone else who wants to comment, all right? And that way, see, they can't go in about copyright and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, here we go.
Khorasan Province, Iran, 2005. While excavating an ancient historical site located in the Sharda Desert, a group of tomb raiders discovered something unusual, a human mummy. At 25 centimeters in size, it was only half the size of a newborn baby. The robbers attempted to sell the rare mummy on the black market, but were caught by the police. The entire group was arrested, and the mummy was confiscated by the authorities. Afterwards, the Iranian police revealed the confiscated mummy to the public. Consequently, this small mummy of bewildering height gained worldwide attention. In addition to ordinary people, anthropologists also went all the way to Iran to see it. The Iranian government later commissioned an authoritative scientific investigation unit to perform an in-depth analysis of the mummy. The results were...
Oh, what do you think about that? You remember how we have talked before in the past about the little people? We talked about gnomes, elves, sprites, trolls, and all this other kind of stuff, about little people. Some might even call some of them hobbits or whatever. But this is very fascinating. Now, see, a lot of people don't want to believe that these little beings exist. They do. There's a lot of stuff out there that exists that we know nothing about. And I find this very, very fascinating.
Were shocking. The mummy was neither a newborn baby nor a stillborn fetus. It was a fully developed 17-year-old male teenager. The mummy is proof that the legendary kingdom of the little people actually existed. And
see, they got evidence. They even have it in this country, evidence of it, as well as they do in other countries. But people say, "Oh, no, no, no." And if you see any footage on it, it's got to be fake, Well, everyone's entitled to their opinions and their thoughts, but but these people got the wrong thinking. Of course, yeah, you're right there, bro. You're right. I mean, People don't understand. It's like they close themselves off to what is around them. But I believe that, now this is my belief here, is that the reason why you're seeing more of these and hearing, or should I say hearing and seeing more of these reports and things on these different type beings, the anything from your any type of cryptids, like the dog man, Bigfoot, to little people, uh, to demonic hauntings, spirits and things, it's haunting and what have you, and on, and aliens and what have you. I think and I believe that it has to do is because we have entered, with no doubt about it, there's evidence everywhere that we have entered into what we would call the last of the last days that has been foretold in the book of heaven. And I think, a lot of the stuff is, where it's coming out, that it's, I guess you would say, it's their time for a short time, should I say, their time to shine. But one day, though, their thunder will be stolen away from them when the great beautiful one comes. But people don't want to believe in these things. They exist. They're there. I mean, it'd take a fool to not understand that these things exist. And really, now again, this is me. I believe that maybe a lot of these preachers in these churches need to be talking about this. Because this stuff, if people close their eyes to it, they're going to eventually find themselves in a trap. Eventually. But these things exist and they're there. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you look at this little evidence. It was of a 17-year-old. You see how small that thing was? You're like, holy cow. Oh, man.
Anthropologist Susan Martinez, PhD, claimed that the small mummy was a part of a race of people of very short stature that lived in Iran in the past. Legends of little people have been passed down among Iranians since long ago. There are various murals and literature, as well as actual records about it. It is said that the little people are considered some sort of local deity, and Iranians still perform memorial rituals to honor them to this day. The existence of the little people in Iran is not something that can be dismissed as a mere legend. The Makunik historical site located near the Iranian province of South Khorasan is proof. The village of Makunik was discovered by an exploration team from the University of Tehran in 1946. It became a hot topic in academia at the time of its discovery. The average height of the buildings were only about 150 centimeters. As for the front doors, the average height was approximately 80 centimeters, so even children could only enter the houses if they bent down. Of course, the rooms were tiny as well. It is said that an average adult male could not even lie down and straighten his legs in the rooms.
Sorry
At the
about
time,
that.
due to the nonsensical size of the buildings, scholars speculated that they were either built for decorative purposes
I'm sorry. I was sitting. Yeah, I had paused it, bro. I was commenting, I didn't realize that I had the mic muted. I apologize, bro, and anyone that's watching. Uh, you're like, yeah, man, that. I feel embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. But as I was commenting, about the doors and stuff, I mean, just look at that, and then not to mention that people refuse to believe in it, but it's kind of like someone saying they believe in $1 million, even though they haven't seen it, and they don't think about that, is that these little beings exist. And so doesn't the Nephilim. The what also another word for the Nephilim is giants. Or better yet, offspring of the fallen ones, right? The fallen angels, but et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, this is very fascinating here.
or built with special intentions. They were not built for humans, or so they thought. Archaeologists sent directly by the Iranian government discovered ovens inside the houses that were presumably used for a long period of time, as well as traces of fire. A large number of metal weapons, farming tools, and ceramics were also discovered near buildings that resembled furnaces. All of these discoveries confirmed that it was indeed an ancient village inhabited by people in the past. This confirmation led to scholars investigating the reason why the villagers were of such short stature. The village of Makunik is located in the desert. It is said that even at the time when civilization was believed to have been established, the area was a desert. It is presumed that livestock rearing was extremely difficult due to the dry and bleak nature of the area. As a result, the villagers subsisted on grain-centered, simple vegetarian dishes. There's also a hypothesis that the villagers as a whole were of short stature due to repeated kidney deficiencies caused by malnutrition. Other prevalent theories include the drinking water being laced with mercury and incest resulting in severe dwarfism genes.
Now, that's just like the scientific community. And just because they got PhDs and all this other kind of degrees and stuff, and a big name, they think, all I got to do is say theory. This is my theory. And everyone goes running with it. It's fact. Dr. So-and-so, the scientist, he said this and this and that. It's like, big whoop-de-doo. I mean, a theory is just that, a theory, unless there's evidence that proves otherwise, it's just a theory. Now, some of the stuff, would make sense in some things, but in this instance, what they're talking about, it don't fly. They just trying to find an explanation, and they can't find one about these little people.
In fact, it is estimated that the actual height of the villagers was 50 centimeters to 1 meter. Despite all these findings, many scholars still argue that the little people of the Makunik village did not exist. Even if the little people had dwarfism, the average height of a grown adult is about 50 centimeters, which goes against the gene.
Hey, Ocio, their adventures with Queen's Lost Souls crew. Ocio.
Genealogy of anthropology. On top of that, the fact that only one mummy has been unearthed means that there is not enough historical evidence to support the aforementioned theories. There is only one mummy that is presumed to be part of the little people. It is the 17-year-old male mummy unearthed in 2005. At approximately 25 centimeters tall, this is also different from the average height of the little people predicted by scholars. But then again, the buildings in the village of Makunik clearly show that there were little people actually living there in groups.
I'm doing it just fine there. Yeah. Well, fine as expected, I mean, besides the usual stuff that goes on with me, I'm always in pain. I try to watch how often I go live, because, I only use the free version on StreamYard, and, you're allotted so many, times you can stream in a month, so I just kind of watch it and all that kind of stuff, and Plus, I'd been busy and in a lot of pain. Like, pain, pain, go away. Don't come back again another day.
The average height of the residents living in the desert near Makunik is very small, approximately 150 centimeters. Perhaps they inherited the genes of the little people who lived in the distant past. In 2003, the remains of an archaic human with an average height of approximately 1 meter were discovered in Liang View, a cave on the island of Flores, Indonesia. This has become a missing link in the scientific community and caused a lot of controversy as well. There was a debate as to whether these little people were the ancestors of modern humans, Homo sapiens, or a completely separate race. These remains are nicknamed Hobbit and even have an official scientific name, Homo.
Well, I'll tell you what. Since they are talking about having discovered the hobbits, well, I wonder if they're ever going to find remains of Boromir and Aragorn and Gandalf, especially, and Legolas and all of them. I wonder if they're going to Gimli, find their remains. And I guess they'll be up from a different species, subspecies, or whatever they would like to come up with.
Floresiensis. It is said that research on these little people is still ongoing. The dwarfs in fairy tales and movies. Did they actually exist? This has been Strange Night.
You can go over there to Strange Night and on YouTube and check them out. And just enjoy that. And also, I have here another video. Well, this is more of an audio, but you really need it. It's from basically it's a story that was told from ex-military. But you ought to really hear this. Now, this is pretty awesome. All right.
This to you as an ex-government employee, and technically, my government agency worked far more with the military, so I guess you can consider me ex-military. And I wanted to warn you about the many things going on that most civilians have no idea. I'm not talking about biological conspiracies like viruses and the such, although we've dabbled in that as well. But what I'm specifically talking about is the extensive creation and use of bioweaponry. I've been watching your YouTube channel for quite some time, and I could see that you've hit the nail on the head several times in relation to biological weapons and what these creatures really are. Well, I'm here to tell you that the lab I worked at, which I'm not going to exactly reveal since my life is dependent on it, but I'm here to tell you there is a huge cover-up going on to withhold this information from the public. Now, before I get into specifics...
Now, we all know that when it comes to governments, whether our government or other people's governments and stuff overseas and what have you, they're always covering stuff up. They did it in the past and they still doing it.
I would like to state why. Now, I'm not exactly told, but if you think about it, if this information were to get out, can you imagine the mass panic it would cause? Not to mention complete and total distrust in any government body. No, we can't have that. And besides, most civilians are stupid and will believe anything they are spoon-fed on the media. They are told what to think, how to feel, what to react to. Their entire belief system, from the ground up, from the day they are born, we help shape through what they show, see, and experience all around them in this matrix of the world. Before I get into more of the biological weaponry side, know this, that the military and the government, several different agencies, by the way, all work on biological weaponry. Everything from viruses to diseases to more physical...
Okay, country boy, there's Standing Bear. Still be here.
And practical uses. I'm talking about the need of super soldiers, physical and not. And before you ask, Yes, many of us have dabbled into the occult to try and muster up supernatural beings in order to control. We've also gone as far as to work on human hybrids of any kind, human canine, human ape, anything you could think of.
That would explain really a whole lot if you think about it. That would explain a lot. You know, on these newer sightings on, you know, like the Dogman and the Bigfoot and stuff. I mean, the differences. There are differences in the reports on these creatures. Well, we can figure out with a good amount of them, not all of them, are the result of the government doing experimentation. And when it comes to like the rake, what's that other one called? Oh, come on, I know. Oh, what is the name of that thing? It's kind of like the rake. It's got the antlers and all this kind of stuff on its head. I used to know. I forgot, but you know what I'm talking about. But I mean, you have all these different things. They even talking about, you know, dabbling in the cult and what have you. See, I have no doubts about that. Uh, and I believe a lot of you have either at some point seen something like this or know someone who has seen it. But these things are not something that have always been here per se. Oh, excuse me. Burpity, dude. I did. But anyway, um, and, you know, hearing all this from this fellow, it makes you really wonder. You know, and people being out, you know, that's like in the Appalachians or in the Ozarks and stuff. Uh, from what this man is fixing to say, I mean, person needs to watch their six and not go out in those woods alone. And when they go out there with someone, they better be packing heat and better be watching their six.
And horrifyingly, we've been successful at what we've done. The specific agency I worked for myself in helping craft these weapons, if you want to call them that, was what you civilians refer to as shadow government. We have, in the past, have worked with the CIA, the DEA, and several other well-known agencies of the government. But more importantly, we were contracted to do some of the most heinous, disturbing, and advanced bioweaponry. Also keep in mind, we were not the only branch doing this, just one of the many out there. One of the biggest things you've touched upon on your YouTube channel, that I'm sure many are aware of, is what you refer to as Dogman. I cannot sit here and claim that we've created this species, but what I can tell you is that our agency has several similar kinds of soldiers currently in the works of being created and are already in the alpha testing phase, or at least they were before I was kindly let go. Generally, one of the first few tests we put our soldiers through to see if they are sufficient in killing is putting them out in the open field and seeing just what kind of carnage they could do. Sometimes we'll even go as far as releasing multiple at a time to create a pack, and to even see if they can breed, which in the past has proven successful. There are many operations that have operated this way, and we continue to monitor the test subjects' progress as time goes on, and how efficient they are at killing, strategizing, and overall survival. I'm going to tell you outright that a portion of all missing persons cases has something to do with our experiments. I can even tell you right now that we were
Well, welcome back, dear Standing Bear. Welcome back.
working on a specific testing phase for several test subjects right around Taylor, Mississippi, up into Kentucky, all the way up through Ohio and Pennsylvania. conveniently, all along the Appalachian Mountains. Listening this far, you're probably wondering why I'm still not exactly giving you every single detail and I am being somewhat vague. Well, that's simply because my name is everywhere in my agency, and if I give away too much information, well, I would easily be able to be tracked. Make of it what you will, make fun of me if you must, but I figured sharing this information with you, there shouldn't be an issue because no one's going to look here. Besides, most who listen to this will probably believe it to be bad fiction written by a novice. But if you do choose to believe, which I strongly advise you do, I want to warn you now, outright, that you should never go into the woods or any place that is heavily forested unarmed. Because, as I said, there's not just our test subjects out there. There is.
Very true, bro. They have covered up a lot of stuff out there, and I believe a lot of those missing people reports, out around out in the mountains and stuff. I hate that. Now, can someone get rid of this bot thing or whatever it is in there in the chat if you can, or block them or whatever? But yeah, the stuff that's going on out there in the mountains and like in the Appalachians and Ozarks and even up around like around Washington State, Oregon and stuff. I believe it's these creatures that these government officials have let loose, and I believe that with some of them, what they'll do is dispose of the bodies and stuff, because all they can, is like, hey, people go missing all the time, so they just leave it like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's pretty bad, pretty bad.
A continuous biological operation to further implement, test, and strengthen these weapons for the time when they are properly needed. That is to be yet determined. I know all of this might come off as crazy, but it's the truth. I've seen it with my very own eyes, and I've been working in it for years now. We've been doing this for a long time. Actually, to my knowledge, since the 1950s. And believe me, we are not the only ones. There are many other countries out there doing the same thing, notably China, Russia, Pakistan, Brazil, Venezuela, among a handful of others you probably had no idea. I'm talking heinous, horrible human experiments that does not ever reach the eyes or ears of the public. As a matter of fact, one of the divisions I worked for specifically back in 2016 was responsible of the creation of a brand new type of bioweaponry. While we were working with human hybrids of sorts, we were working on genetics, combining the best qualities of both humans and animals to create a, as I've stated before, a super soldier of types.
Thanks here, bro. I appreciate that. I really do. I hate it when idiots put all that crap in there in people's chats on live streams. I hate it.
This far supersedes just simply mixing an animal with a human. Say, for example, like your dog man, or what other beings you've described in your previous episodes. I'm not even going to tell you the exact project code that we gave it, but I will say the word Invictus was in it. We were tasked with creating the perfect soldier. Again, I moved out of that project early 2017 when the experiment was still in its alpha stages.
Now, I believe that again, this is my belief, all right, is that this technology, messing with the DNA, using to combine human and animal and all this kind of stuff, to me, see, I believe that is what I and others I know would call fallen angel or fallen one's technology. Because see, they'd done that stuff in the past, way before there was anything before man even became modern. way back before the flood and even after, them things has been experimenting with people, and now they've been given technology, the know-how on the DNA and stuff, how to mix human and animal, I mean, etc., cloning, you name it. I mean, that's my belief.
I have no idea what its further use will be. I have no idea what the future end of that project is, but by God, if civilians knew what was really going on, they would be completely terrified. I can tell you this, that if these beings ever see the light of day, they are strong, fast, completely irrational, violent, and are fully sentient and conscious. I wanted to try and wrap this up and extend it out into another email. I wanted to tell you about Project Purple. Now, Project Purple was a bioweapon program that was scrapped back in 2013, but was heavily worked on from 2011 until then. We very heavily utilized human DNA and splicing it with large cat DNA to create the perfect soldier with extraordinary capabilities at nocturnal hunting. Unfortunately, we ultimately made the decision to scrap it as the test subjects became far too advanced, too unstable, and incredibly violent.
And see, eventually, now I believe with all the other reports that's been going out, that eventually, given time and stuff, mind you, that eventually they will turn around and give options for people, if they want to have their eye, like for example, to be able to have night vision, to have strength, have a night vision of an owl or a cat, and have strength like that of a elephant or a gorilla or whatever. You name it, you got the picture, right? But they'll eventually offer that for anyone who's got the money to pay for it. They can have it done, just like these idiots going around. They want to be vampires, and so they go and get cosmetic surgery done on their teeth, to get fangs, and you name it. So they're going to end up offering that. Oh yeah, yeah, bro. They're pretty good on covering that kind of stuff up. They're real good at it. And it's just amazing on the stuff that they cover up. And I wish that everyone knew about what they were doing.
To say we had a few casualties is an understatement. I was there when we ran multiple tests. I saw them dispose of people without any regard of anything. They were like animals, pure, instinctual, and brutal, but also very intelligent. They could strategize. We could not control them. And many of them have been released into the Ozarks and the Smoky Mountain area. And
Oh, they're out there. We all know that they're out there. But some of those sightings that people see are it's thanks to these people that this guy's talking about. These experiments that's gone haywire, and yet they leave them out there. They leave them out there to roam around, and that's why I think that a lot of people need to watch their six when they're out hiking out in the mountains or hunting, and never go alone. But usually, when you tell somebody don't go alone, guess what they do? They go out alone, and that's pretty dangerous because these things, no doubt, can be killed, but they'd be real hard put, to be able to bring them down. It's where you need someone else with you, and and my recommendation would be have 3 or 4 with you. The more firepower, the better. Especially, keep one's eyes open and ears open because you never know when one of those things is going to pop out of the bushes or something and attack you.
to my recollection, we were, at the time, recently, still actively monitoring them. Why do you think when one is killed, our agents are dispatched to the scene almost immediately? Yes, we can view their vitals in real time and almost have a sort of direct link with the weapon. It's a shame that we had to scrap it because I think had our budget extend a little farther, we
He said the guy's nuts. He said it's a shame that they had to scrap it. I don't think they really totally scrapped it, but what the guy is saying there is that it is a shame that they had to scrap it. He's like, they shouldn't even never went there in the first place.
could have really pushed the program into something more to create the perfect soldier. I know that throughout this entire email, that's all I've been mentioning, but I want to tell you that we work on a variety of what we would call quote-unquote perfect soldier. We aim for some that can be used in all different terrains, battlefields, different missions, as well as other top secret tasks. If you do decide to read this to your audience, they can feel free to comment and ask anything they'd like, as well as you. I can't promise I'll get back to you in a timely manner, but I'll do the best I can. And for the time being, you could call me Jane. I guess I should also conclude as to why I'm doing this. What's my incentive? I guess whistleblowing, so to speak, is kind of a weight off my chest. I've seen things that
You got that right, bro. You got that right. They didn't scrap anything.
no human eyes should ever see. Very dark, disturbing things. That's all for now, even if you only just read this.
I thought that was very interesting. Very interesting indeed. There I am. Hold on. I'm going to get this thing here. Sit it right. There we go. I never find that, this kind of stuff here is interesting. And it explains a lot, really, on the different sightings. Now, we know, yes, Bigfoot has been around way before modern technology. But I believe that a lot, not all, and quote, I'm saying not all, but a lot of sightings of what people are reporting to be Bigfoot or the Dogman is from this, that this guy was talking, or lady, whoever, was talking about. I would say, yeah, that they're the stuff that they got out there roaming around is dangerous, very dangerous. Okay, now I got another topic. Let's see, hold on here. Yeah, 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 and more fire, fire, more firepower that one has, the better when you're dealing with these experiments. Now, I think that it's just insane that these people are doing this stuff. There's stuff going on that nobody, period, knows about, not even through uh, whistleblowing or whatever. There's stuff going on that nobody will know. Yep, true, bro. Very true. Very true. Okay, now this last one here, the question is how many believe that when you pass from this life, that you go on to the next, whether, uh, let's say, whether heaven or hell or whatever, right? So, what does one believe on that? Now, this one fellow, he is now, you hear a lot of this stuff, this near death experience. I believe a lot of it is, yes, people have seen certain things, but um, it's like when they swore that they were dead, and that, but they were gone just maybe a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, or something like that. And but they seen these different things. I think in those instances, because even though if your heart stops, and even if that instrument that they have that measures brain activity is reading that there's no brain activity, what they call brain dead, that your brain for yay so many odd minutes or seconds, right, is still functioning. And and then of course when these people come back, right, and then they tell about what they saw. Now I believe that what they saw was a dream. They were dreaming because your brain activity is still going for yay so long. Even after that machine says that you're brain dead, it's still active. They have proven this. All right. But now when a person has been dead, let's say over 15, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, hours or whatever, and they come back and they report things that they have seen and heard, I'm more apt to believe them than anyone. Okay. And this fella, I believe him, and it's really interesting with what he says. And even, well, best thing to do is it'll let you hear him, okay?
Braxton, and I have a story of dying and going to heaven. I was working in the Seattle area, working for the county there, King County, and I was a supervisor in the probation department of the juvenile courts. So I was loving my job. I enjoyed working with adolescents. I used to say all the time, I would do it until the day I died, and then I died. May 5th, 2006. I ended up with a kidney stone that got stuck on the right side. I had kidney stones before, so I knew it was a kidney stone right out the bat. I thought I could probably wait it out or go through it and it would kind of like the pain would go away, but that time it didn't go away. And I remember going into the emergency room and just kind of like nonchalant say, I got a kidney stone, it's over here. And I knew what they would do because I've been through the procedures before, and I knew they would take me into a room and they would give me morphine and the pain would go away. I also had a kidney infection, and they gave me antibiotics for that kidney infection, and they decided they would keep me overnight and they would do the operation. And so that kept overnight, gave me antibiotics. The operation the next day went pretty smoothly. They broke up the stones, but also what happened, and they found out later on that I was one of those persons that the antibiotics they gave to didn't really impact the infection that I had. So when they broke up the stones, the poison went into my bloodstream and I became what you call septic, and everything in my body started shutting down, not just my heart and my lungs. According to the medical records, I was considered clinically dead for about an hour and 45 minutes.
For an hour and 45 minutes, there have been others been dead longer. But even that, an hour and 45 minutes, that's a good long while. And not to mention, there's been people that have been dead for 4 or 5 hours, and they came back, but this is fascinating, man. It's terrible that this man went through all that. It's terrible for anybody to go through it.
One of the things that really got me is even the process of even the dying piece. When it really came down to it and I knew I was dying, I was surprised how much fear I didn't have. I'm born again, a Christian, and I knew that you go to heaven when you die. And I was looking forward to it. even when I realized I was dying. And I said to myself, I'm dying. And all I could say after that was, I'm going home. I remember leaving my body and really shooting through the hospital floors and even going into the blue sky. And I remember going into outer space, and it was really fast. I used to always try to figure out how fast it was. And I do read my Bible, and I remember reading this one scripture that says to be absent from the body is to be in the presence of the Lord. And all I could say was, that was it, that was it, that was it. That's what really happened. I was moving that fast. I would say faster than a person could blink their eye. By the time the top eyelid hits the bottom one, I was already in heaven. That's how fast it was. As I was going into that realm, and I remember seeing before me that they saw like a light at the end of the tunnel, because it's really dark in this one area there. And I can remember it wasn't a light just like at the end of a tunnel. To me, it was like a window. It looked like a window. I'm not saying it was a window, but that's the best way description I could say. As I was going toward this light that was before me, it looked like a window. I remember when I came in through that window, oh man, everything was right. There was nothing wrong. It was peace. There was nothing that would agitate you there, nothing that would get on your nerves. And the thing that got me more than anything else is I fit. I didn't know how out of place I felt before until I went through this experience, because I went in and I fit. I knew I was welcome there. Everything in heaven was welcoming there, everything. I'm not just saying God Almighty or Jesus Christ or the Holy Spirit. I'm saying everything in heaven literally was glad I was there. And I felt it by looking at everything around me. There were trees there. I felt welcome from the trees. I looked at flowers. They seemed to.
See, I've heard others describe that too. And I've also heard them describe that even the plants, like your flowers and your trees are self-aware, that they even sing. That's pretty cool in my book. I think that is awesome, man. I mean, be able to see something that beautiful, that's awesome.
Welcome me. Everything there was so glad I had showed up. One of the things I wanted more than anything else, and I didn't even know this desire was on the inside of me until really I got there, and that was I really just didn't want to be in heaven. I wanted to see Jesus Christ. I wanted to see him face to face. That was so important to me. Heaven's not heaven without the Father and Jesus. They make up heaven, and I came to understand it's not a place you want to be in, it's a person you want to be with. So as I was going through a forest, there was a forest before me, a bunch of trees in front of me, and I knew Jesus Christ was through those trees. And I remember thinking that I got to go through those trees to see where he is. And as I was going through those trees behind me, they parted before me. And I felt like they were saying on both sides of me, he's going to see the king, he's going to see the king, he's going to see the king. That's what I felt like they were saying. I wanted to be where Jesus is. So I was really concentrating more than anything else on being where he is. And when I came through, I remember coming out into this clearing, but it was a wide open space. And I saw Jesus. He was more to the left of me, and he was looking at a bunch of some angels and some what I call redeemed people that had been on the planet and left the planet and went to heaven. And I can remember coming up to him and seeing him. And the first thing I did, I didn't stand up and really approach him. I got so close to him, and then I went down on my hands and knees, and I was looking at his feet. When I say I was looking at his feet, he was still facing the multitude of the crowd before him, and there was millions of them, billions of them, really. I was looking at the side of his feet, and all I could do is I kind of raised my head up enough to see part of his legs, never really his face at that moment. And all I could say was, you did this for me. And everything inside of me, everything about me at that moment knew that the only reason I was in heaven is because of what Jesus Christ had done. Everything was so grateful in my being that he had done that for me, that the next thing I could only do was say, thank you, 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 thank you. So I'm thanking him. And as I'm thanking him, I stopped. And then I said, oh, the only reason I'm here is because of what he had done. Mentally, I knew he had done it for everyone. But personally, I took it on as so personal that you not only died on the cross so that I could be here, but you created all of heaven just for me. I don't want to say I was being selfish, because I wasn't, but that's what I felt like. He had done it just for me. For then I started looking up his body. I looked up from his feet to his ankles. His ankles loved me. I saw his calves, they loved me. I saw his knees, they loved me. Everything about him I looked at loved me. His hands, they loved me. And then I got to his face and he looked at me. And this is what really, one of the things that still to this day is one of the things I'll go back to every once in a while and just grab. He looked at me like I never ever disobeyed him in my entire existence. You know, that really got me. And then I thought about it later on that when he said he forgive you, he forgets it. You know, I read the Bible, and the Bible even says that in the 8th chapter of Hebrews and also the 10th chapter of Hebrews. It literally says that when God forgives you, he forgets it. I experienced that look from Jesus. I knew that I was an eternal being, that I would never die. My body died, but me, the real person on the inside of this body, will never die. The love he had for me would outlast me. It can't outlast me because I'll live forever. After that engagement with him and he downloading some things inside of me, I call it downloading like a computer. He looks at me and he says, no, it's not your time. Go back. But like that, that's how he says it. I was kind of okay with it. And I remember I didn't go through the forest after that to go back to where I came into heaven. I went over the forest. It's like I flew over it. There is not really flying. You can literally say, I want to be 10 feet above the surface there. The best way I could describe it to you that read your Bible is like when Jesus walked on water. And there's no fear, so you can go as high as you want. But I remember going over the trees and going back to that place. And when I got to the place that I was going to leave out of, and it wasn't like there's a door there that opened up the door and you go out. It was just like I knew the next step I took, I would be out of that realm. And I remember standing there for a while and I sensed my body wasn't ready. It wasn't ready. I was so joyful that it wasn't ready. So I remember turning around saying, yes. And the forest was before me. And I knew Jesus was on the other side of the forest. But I felt like I could literally go to the left of the forest. And as I'm going to the left of the forest, oh man, all of creation is so joyful. I saw mountains and they were beautiful mountains. They looked like ocean waves moving because they could move. And as they were moving, it looked like the ocean waves going past me, but they were really mountains going. And I just, oh man, this is so wonderful. And I'm enjoying it because to be honest with you, I thought I was going to stay. I knew I had to get back to Jesus. So I came back to Jesus this time around this side of him. And for whatever reason, I went behind him and then came back to that same position I did the first time. And I bowed down again before him. And then he said some more things to me, talked to me a little bit more about things there. And I remember.
Wow, bro. Yeah, I'll tell you what, you really been blessed. You really been blessed. I mean, hey, you're still here. It just wasn't your time, bro. Wasn't your time. But a lot of people, they how would you say? All right. They don't really understand how blessed that they really are. I mean, that they are breathing and walking. See, that's like with me, with my aches and pains and everything. Still, I'm blessed because I'm still breathing and I'm still walking. Even at times when it's real hard to walk, I mean, I'm able to. And I have a place to lay my head at night. I got food on the table. I got a roof over my head. Hey, really blessed. I'm just really blessed. And people just don't grasp, that this life that we live is short. And we have to make the most and the best of what time we do have. When the beautiful great one has given us this time, here we should make the most of it. But I think a lot of us in our journey in this big wide world, wherever we're at, we tend to get sidetracked and forget about the most important things. I mean, yeah, life is important, but the thing is, we need to grasp the importance. True, bro. True. Very true. You know, it's like one fella said, a preacher man was asked about why is there ghosts, spirits and stuff, right? Uh, well, I guess I kind of believe the way the way he put it. All right, there's a lot of things we don't understand and we can't fully explain it. And I don't, if someone should ask me if I have something that would be concrete to back this up, I really don't. But you know, uh, I kind of believe that, like when a person has passed on, maybe it's through violence or whatever the scenario was going on at the time. That when it came time to go through what everyone has described as a tunnel or whatever, uh, I think with some of them they just panic. That, or there's fear. They're afraid to go on, because maybe they didn't live a good life for the beautiful great one. They remember what the Bible, the Book of Heaven, has said about wickedness and what have you. I think in certain instances, these people that have passed that didn't go on, they're, well, for all said purpose, I guess you'd say stuck, and they're afraid to go on. And some are just lost. They didn't know where to go, what to do, or whatever. Um, but I believe in the instances when it comes to the people thinks that they're seeing a child. Again, this is just my personal belief. All right, my belief is, yours may differ. Whoever's watching, right, is that when they think that they're seeing a child, I'm not saying this in every case, but I'm just saying in general, this is my belief. What they're seeing is not a child. It's a demon, an evil spirit, that's appearing as a child, because everyone thinks of a child as innocent and things like this and this nature. And they'll tend to lean towards trusting a child per se, like a spirit of a child, but not realizing that they're being suckered, being scammed by an evil spirit. But as far as in general, these people that passed on, I can't fully come out and say in every case when a person has passed, I can't say on the specifics on why that one uh, did not go on, uh, pass on to the other side. But I can speculate, all right? But I do believe in the Book of Heaven where it talks about and I'm paraphrasing here, where it speaks of to, to leave the body is to be present with the Lord. Okay. And I believe that if a person is where they should be with him, then that's where they're going to go, is to be with Him. And me, I would rather go and be with Him than go to a place that's of nothing but misery and torment. I mean, we have experienced enough of that in our life here. Why would we want to do things that would ensure that when we pass away, to go to a place where it's misery and pain and heartache, and you have to go through that through eternity? Because see, our spirits are eternal. It is forever. You know. So yeah, but like this guy here, I believe what he's saying. Uh, he's got the right attitude and everything, and I find it fascinating, when I'm hearing about people that have passed away and then came back. Now, some cases where people say that they passed on and they saw this and that. What they describe is, when you're listening to them, you're hearing a dream. But that's a hold on here, if I can get that. There we go. Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
Remember the light that was coming off of him. I didn't say this the first time, but there was this great light that was coming off of him, and it was wrapping itself around me. After that engagement, he looks at me again. He looks down at me again with these beautiful, loving eyes. He says to me again, "No, it's not your time. Go back." The second time, I was, oh man. I go over the trees again. I get to that edge part of where I came in at, and it looked like I take one more step and I'm out. I get ready to get out, and all of a sudden, again, I know my body is not ready. And I'm thinking, yes, I am staying. So the next thing I do is, this time, instead of going to the left of me, I go to the right of that force, and I experienced so many great things. It seemed like that side was
I did that again. I paused. Oh, dang it! I paused this, and I had the mic muted. The mic muted again. It's like, man, I got to start being aware of that. Watch that. But I was just saying, basically, to see what he saw, any of us would have felt the same way. It's like, no, I don't want to go. I wouldn't want to go back. No. Oh, no, no, no. No, I want to stay. I mean, that would be the feeling, the emotions that one would have, that it's a beautiful thing. And, and the beautiful great one, they let him come back as well as others to give encouragement for us, for everyone, that death, when our bodies expire, it's just a shell, is that's not the end of it. There's something better. But, again, it has to do with not trying to be a good person, stuff. You can't earn your way. You can't bribe God, like, oh, I was a good person, yeah. So yeah, I know God, and I'm good. I'll make it. uh, Fortunately, our between our way of thinking and God's way of thinking is two different things. The beautiful great one, when it comes to the word good, our version of being good differs from his. So we have to go along with his version of what's good. I mean, he ought to know. I mean, he created us and everything else, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't want to even talk about this. Some do to a point, but you know, and but I think this guy's experience is really awesome. It's really it's great.
More of the liquids like the water, the seas, the rivers. I don't know why they were over on that side, but they were on this. They were more blue, but that blue, like we would say blue, because the colors are there are more vibrant than you can imagine. I travel through, I see things, I experience some things. I've seen a lot of different animals on that side. There's a lot of animals in heaven. And then I get right back to Jesus. And this was, oh man, they were always there. I don't know why I didn't recognize them. Here again, I go back to the same spot I went to before with Jesus, and I'm looking at his feet. Then I look up, and on the other side of him, I see my family. I see my grandmother Mary standing out front. She's on a group over on this side over here, and she's standing out front. And then behind her were other relatives, and then behind them were relatives. And it was generation after generation of all those that had a connection with Jesus Christ and the Father, and they came to greet me in. Now, I know they were there the first time I was there with Jesus. I know they were there the second time I was Jesus. I didn't focus in on them at all. I focused mostly on Jesus. But this time, for some reason, I focused on Jesus, then I focused in on them. Sometimes people say, what did they look like? It's hard to describe people in heaven because there's no time. I tell people they were shiny, they had a big smile and pure joy. And then I thought later on, I said to myself, wow, I got to see my entire family in heaven smiling. And I thought, I've never seen that on the planet. And
I tell you, to me, I see when my time is up, I'm looking forward for the opportunity once, crossing over to first see Yeshua, the beautiful great one, Jesus. All right. But then I want to see my Papa. I want to see, some of these best friends that were like family to me. I want to, see some of my other family members and stuff. I mean, I want to see them. But first, I want to see the beautiful, great one, you know? Now that's awesome, because I look at it this way: the beautiful, great one paid a great price, not just for me, but for everybody. So, I mean, yeah, we owe him, you know, for what he's done. It was a great thing, a great gift. So, yeah, I mean, and the gifts that he has given to us, you know, I would suggest whatever gift that Yeshua, the beautiful great one, is given, don't waste it. Don't waste it. If you want to make it to the other side, don't waste it, and take every opportunity. If you're not ready, in your spirit and your heart and your mind, make everything right with him. He's there.
And enjoying each other so much. I didn't know that family was that like that in heaven. I thought we were all the family of God and we all would see each other and that would be the way it is. But you guys, the reality of it is family is important to God. And I came to understand that. There was people there that I didn't think would be there. I thought they didn't go to heaven because they didn't meet the criteria I had for them. They met God's criteria, but they didn't meet my criteria. And you say, what is God accepting Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior? That's the criteria that God is asking. So here it is, you guys. My family comes to greet me, and Jesus downloads a lot of stuff in me. I get to experience what it's like to be in heaven and all of heaven coming together and praising and worshiping God. But after everything, all that, all of a sudden, Jesus looks at me again and he says with a command, strong command, no, it's not your time, go back. I felt like all of creation that was in front of me moved out of the way and said, he's not talking about me. He's talking about you. I felt like a soldier. I used to be in the Air Force. I felt like a soldier. I felt like I went, yes, sir. That type of thing. And then I got ready to leave. I felt like he was saying, I need you there more than I need you here. That's what I felt like. He didn't say those words, but that's what I was feeling. That's what I was sensing. And my grandmother Mary is there, and she looks at me as he's saying this, and she says, bring as many of us back with you as you can. And she's talking about my entire family here on the planet Earth. So I bowed before Jesus like this, went over those trees again, got to what I call the edge of heaven, took a step, and I was out and headed back to this realm. And I was sad. I felt like a baby crying really hard. I remember coming into the hospital room, hovering over my bed where the body was. They had really stopped working on me and started putting things away. The doctor even said he was signing the death certificate at that time. And I remember, I don't know why I did this. I looked at my body, it was down there. I looked at it. I came in and hovered over it. And then I turned over and went into my body like that. And the doctor saw all of a sudden hit the heart monitor go beep, 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 beep. Started beeping. They started coming back over there. They intubated me, put the tube down my throat. You know what that's all about. They get me breathing again and all that type of stuff. I didn't really want to come back, but I felt like he was saying, I need you there more than I need you here. And how did I change? I look at things from an eternal point of view. I don't.
Wow. Now, that was pretty awesome. Now, you know, if someone will remind me, all right, I would like to see about showing you a picture. Uh, my mother has this picture. There's this preacher, okay, that my father knew very well. They were friends. And now this was back before there was such thing as doing the cell phone photo selfie stuff and all this. Is back when you had rolls of film, to put in your cameras, right? And there was a picture taken of this man, this preacher. All right, and he's passed on, but this picture show in the behind him there's an angel. I'm not joking. And I am serious. And I would like to show that to you. If someone will remind me, I don't want to forget to show that to you. Because, man, that's pretty awesome. See, a lot of people, it's kind of funny. They'll say, that they believe there's such things as demons or in spirits, but they don't believe in angels. They don't believe in heaven. They don't believe in hell. They don't believe this and that. It's like I don't get that kind of thinking. I don't understand it. It, it's like for them saying that it's like they're in self denial or whatever. But yeah, I mean, people, they don't get it. They just don't get it. Now, I know that, when people pass on, and they do go to the other side, that you only go to one or two places. There's not an in between. There's not a little stopover. You stay there for a while. You go. It's like you go. You go past jail and go straight to go and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like Monopoly, the little thing there. But anyway, uh, you go to just one place or another, you know, and it really depends on where we are at in our walk with the beautiful great one. I see it. A lot of these big mega churches and these people they make basically they make a mockery of the beautiful great one, and they other people see it, right, and it makes a person not want to go to church. I mean, all of us at one point or time or another we'd been inside a church. Some were pretty cool, pretty awesome. When I say cool and awesome, they didn't have a bunch of crap going on. They were legit. It was real. Then you have these other fakers. They make a big show. All they're about is entertaining. Yeah, they get all the people, but they entertain and they deceive people and themselves. But that it always puts a bad name on the beautiful great one because of their bad behavior. And first Peter, the apostle Peter, talks about that kind of stuff because of these people with their bad behaviors. They bring a bad reproach on Christ and on others that's living for the beautiful great one, right? So, I think we've all been there. I believe in going to church, but I don't believe in going to any that doesn't tell it like it is and they don't show it in their lives. I mean, they're not real. You know what I'm saying? They're not spreading a bunch of gossip, or they're not putting on a show. They're being real, the legitimate thing. Now where I live, I mean, we got all kinds of churches, uh, but the reason why I don't step foot in them, okay, is because I've seen the way they are, and you have a preacher who gets up and only tells and preaches only what people want to hear. If I go into a church, I don't want to hear what everyone and myself want to hear, tickling the ears. No, I want to hear the truth. Even if it hurts, I want the truth. I don't want false or fake. Just like we do here on YouTube. We don't want the fake. We don't want false people, fake people in our circle, in our family. We want true people. That's right, bro. That's right. That's what Yeshua, Jesus, sit there and told us. Exactly, bro. And it says it in the good book, the book of heaven. And you got a lot of that stuff going on. All right. I believe in miracles. I believe in healings. But this stuff that you see these people doing, they're just doing a show.
A person will know when it's real. All that stuff that is just, they put on a big hoopla, and it's like, man, no wonder people don't want to go to church. Now, if you find a preacher, they are out there, but they're rare. Is when they live what they preach. They don't pretend to be one thing or the other. They actually just preach for what's in the book of heaven. They don't add, they don't take away. They just preach it. That's kind of like when we hear news. We don't want to always hear these newscasters, these anchormen and women, just giving us their view instead of, telling it like it is. We want the truth. Well, that's the way it is when you go to a church. You want truth. You want legitimacy. I encourage people to go to church. But if there's not one, then this is a suggestion. I'm not talking about playing church, but I'm saying fellowship in your home or their home, take turns or whatever. Fellowship. That's a suggestion. But you know, I wasn't intending for this to be no preaching thing. But it's about, when you think about it, when it's time for us, whenever that may be, and leaving this earth in whatever manner, whether it's a disease or heart attack or just of old age or whatever, is when our time's up, and only He knows when our time's up. The thing is that it's a matter on how are you with Him? Is it good between you and Him? And if it's good between us and Him, no worries. But if it's not, it's a good time to make that right and make it good. And it tells you in there, even in the book of Romans, Jesus talks about it in the book there in the book of Romans, talks about how you can make it good. That's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. Person's got to be aware of what's going on. And speaking of that, bro, that reminded me. I meant to mention this earlier. Excuse me. There was, I don't know if you heard it, there in Israel. Now there's a guy. I can't say that he is or he isn't, but yeah, I got to keep an eye on him. But there's others you can keep an eye on too at the same time. So that way you're not caught unaware. In Israel right now, they got this guy, something Shlomo, in Hebrew, Shlomo is Solomon. All right, his bloodline is the lineage of David, King David. Okay, they claim him to be the Messiah. But that's not all. This Messiah is Jewish rabbi Messiah is they're all claiming that he is the Messiah, and he's doing miracles. He is doing miracles. Now that don't, just because he's doing miracles does not mean that he's the Messiah, the Christ, that he's Jesus. He's not. Now he had never claimed to be Jesus. And then see, it's a long story. Like amongst the Jews and their teachings and stuff, there's two Messiahs. You know, now the way we would put it, or the way I would describe it to you, would be one would be more like a prophet, and like Elijah, or like John the Baptist was he was a forerunner. He was to prepare the way for Yeshua, Jesus, right? Well, now this guy, now they're saying there's another Messiah coming. So with this guy doing miracles, what the good book says and talks about is that the false prophet would be doing miracles. Okay, and all this. But now I'm not saying that that man is the false prophet or that he is the Antichrist. By no means. Someone to keep your eye on and your ears open. Pay attention to that. This is the times that we're living in. It is the last of the last days. And one should definitely make sure you are good, that it's well between you and him, that it's well with your soul, well with your spirit. So, but I mean, things got interesting. I would suggest this, and you might could throw other names in. I would say on these particular names, keep an eye on these people, by all means. Besides the one I just mentioned about. All right, that guy in France, the Macron, or however you say his name, him. Now, these are just saying people that you keep your eyes and ears open on, all right? I'm not saying that uh, this one and this one and that one, or this one is, this one is the Antichrist. You got to keep your eyes open so you don't, because if you're focusing on one, the real one could come up and catch you unaware, like Macron, Mr. Obama. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. All right. Also, keep an eye on what is that? Elon Musk. Elon Musk. And yeah, you can keep your eye on not this Pope, but the one that would take his place, because that guy that's Pope now, he ain't gonna last very long because of his health and all this. Okay. That's right. That's right. Just, before it was destroyed by water, but it will be destroyed by fire. Uh, and then will happen. Everything that's in the book from the beginning to the end of the book of heaven, everything has happened that has happened according to the book of heaven, what is recorded. And there's still more to come. But everything is playing out just the way it says that is happening. And I'm just glad that my eyes got opened up more to see. Yeah, that's pretty sad too. I mean, yeah, you got all those fires. Kind of makes me wonder if some of those environmentalist activists, crazies, is being paid or encouraged or whatever to do that stuff. It makes you wonder. I don't have no evidence of it, but it makes me wonder about that. But like these events, everything that's happened, people need to keep their eyes open. And, and, and I would encourage everyone, if you'd have had that book of heaven sitting there collecting dust, get it out. Start reading it and doing some self inventory, a checklist of yourself between you and the beautiful great one. Is it well? If not, now's the time. You know, sometimes it's easy for a person to get caught up into things. And it's like, all right, now I know a lot of you, not all, but a lot of you believe that that he exists, but it's kind of sometimes we all it's like it's back in the back of our head, and we got all these other things that's blocking our so to speak spiritual or vision. But whatever the case may be with each and one and each of every one, I would encourage, at least make make sure it's good between you and him, because we're living in bad times in this country. People talked about making this country great again, America great again. I will say this: yes, American, you know, all this stuff should be uh, this bad stuff here, and in the politics and stuff need to be taken care of. The bad guys kicked out, and all that. But the thing is that no matter, you know, if there is a cleaning house of the government and they're, starting to clean things up, even once they start, the thing is, the country will never be great again unless on two things. Two things. The number one thing is to bring the beautiful great one, the creator, God, back into this country. Bring him back. And him first. Then with his guidance and everything, and him being put in charge, is to, yeah, do our part as those of us in this country, to do our part to make it great. But we can't do it alone. It has to be with him first. If we don't have him in this country, then forget about it ever being great again. But everything that is written, it will happen the way it says in the good book, the book of heaven. So everything you're seeing unfold, and it's getting worse every 24 hours. You know, you'll see it's increasing. It's escalating more and more and more. With the threat of war and uh, the food crisis, economic crisis, and then it's not over yet, and it's getting crazier and more insane. So I hope and I pray that everything is well between you and him. And we talked about mentioned about Nephilim, fallen ones, and spirits, and little people and things. Uh, if you have any questions or comment about what you had seen in the videos, be sure anyone that's watching, to, leave the comments, down below, and like to hear from you. But we got to remember to love one another. That's a hard thing. But even Yeshua, Jesus, said, that we should pray for, he said that we should pray for our enemies, to love our enemies. That's a hard pill to swallow, but you got to. And to forgive your enemies, to forgive your neighbor. If you do not, and you hold on to grudge now, you might not agree with me, you might not like it, but it's in the book of heaven. All right. I'm just repeating, relaying that, right? Is that if you don't, if I, you, anyone, if we do not forgive, we will never be forgiven. So, and besides, it only makes sense to get rid of the hate, and it's basically what, when we have a grudge, it basically ends up being hate, because a lot of times we don't want to forgive someone because we don't want to let go of it because they treated us pretty bad, or they treated our family members, which it is understandable on them things. I mean, who isn't that way? But the thing is, if you don't get rid of it, it eats you up. Hey, I'm looking forward to that, bro. Oh, that dang TV thing popped on. Yeah, hey, I'm glad you came on, bro. And I'm going to end it here. And I want to say thank you, Wado, bro. Glad you popped in. And you have a very good night, because I'm going to have to hit the old bed in ski. Yeah, hit the sack. And take a little ease on my back here, because this camping chair ain't comfortable. And I've been on for long enough anyway. But if anyone wants to, they can comment down below, share their thoughts. Hey, you too, bro. You take care. Be blessed. Love you, and love Lisa too. Love you both. And you're still in my prayers. So you take care. And everyone out there, take care. May you be blessed. Watch your six and keep your eyes on things. Don't let anything come up on you unaware, right? All right, you take care. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the little people, the aliens, the dogmen, or whatever, Share your thoughts on what you've seen and all that, and what we've talked about, Love to hear from you. All right, y'all have a very, very good night, and be blessed, and I will catch you later. Aho, and Wado.
Now your souls can find no rest.
Lies you trod and pest.